about the assistants being out more involved too. Speak to the value of that for you and your staff then in getting the coaching staff's input.
Yeah, it's something that I've always been a part of, is having the assistant coaches involved in the process and getting their input and their evaluations on the players. Having them go do private workouts with the guys, having them spend time with the guys at the combine and in our 30 visits, because ultimately those are the guys that are going to be coaching them on a daily basis. So from a personality standpoint, you have to determine is that going to be a guy that they're going to be able to coach? Are they going to be able to reach that player? Or is there going to be some type of management situation where you're going to have to, maybe coach him a different way? All of that factors into, in my opinion, the growth of the football player. These guys are coming in with a certain skill set from college. They've been used to one thing for 3 or 4 years, collegiately, one type of style, and now football is a job for those guys. And are they going to be able to take the coaching style that we're going to be, the brand of football that we're going to be, seriously and really thrive in that environment? So to me, it's paramount for the coaches to have input.
Can both of you guys discuss a little bit about drafting for immediate need in this year's draft versus trying to set the roster up for long-term success by drafting the best players available at whatever position?
Yeah, that's really a balancing act. I don't really like the term a reach for a player. Again, when we're on the clock, we'll look at the players that are available to us and determine which guy really fits what we want to be, not just now, but in the future, because that's what we want to build for. We want to build for perennial success. So if the need matches if the need matches the fit, then that's great. But I think in the end we just want to make the decision of who who fits us best and who's going to be the type of tight that we're looking for.
Yeah, I think the same. I'll just kind of reiterate, when it comes down to that pick, what is it? I think what we're going to try to do here, and we've been talking about doing since we've been together for the last 3 months, is when this roster's put together with 90 guys, we want the most competitive 90 players when camp starts, and that's at every position. Depth has been talked about. Building depth on this roster has been talked about. So it's really, again, it's going to be not solely one or the other, but I think it's a combination of the two when that pick comes up.
How much what you guys did in free agency help give you flexibility in this draft, all the additions that you made on both sides?
Yeah, I think that was a good group that we were able to add. They fit our kind of creed, if you will, of tough, accountable, team first guys, and it allowed us to maybe attack other positions in the draft that maybe we were going to attack, and maybe now we can maybe still address that position but not have to address it quite as early.
How late you figure you'll be here tomorrow night?
I'm planning on getting out of here like noon tomorrow. Maybe go get around to golf. No, we'll keep working through some things. There's some documents and stuff we got to get tightened up. A couple meetings we got to have tomorrow. I'd say most of the work is done, though. It's we don't really want to be in there moving draft cards around the night before the draft. This has been a 3-month process here, but a year-long process for me going back to Tampa there with preparations for the draft there and my evaluation and kind of library and knowledge of the players. So most of the work is, if not 95, I'm going to put a percentage on it, 95, 92, 98, whatever you want to put on it, is pretty much done.
How much of your strategy on the offensive side of the ball, drafting-wise, is geared around Marcus and what he does well and doesn't do so well?
Yeah, I would say a fair amount of it. He's a pivotal piece to this football team. But there's other guys on the offense as well. It takes all 11 of those guys for us to go offensively. But the quarterback that's a very, very, if not the most important position on the football team. So we want to make sure to put him in the best position possible to succeed.
How often are you communicating with him in terms of what you're looking at, if at all?
From a draft standpoint?
Yeah.
Oh, not a lot. Yeah, not a lot. He tries to chime in, but I just say duly noted. We don't need any comments from the peanut gallery.
Mike, how surprised, if any, have you been for the last 3 months at the amount of movement from the DeMarco Murray trade to trading the first pick? Did you kind of realize that John was going to come in here and do a lot of different things? What was your mindset?
I don't want to say surprised, but I'm obviously very happy with the way things have, we've talked about needs. We've talked about what are we looking for as a team, what are we looking for offensively, defensively. That started the day we got together, and the style of play that we play, and past history of what has taken place with some of the places I had been before I was in Pittsburgh when we traded for Jerome Bettis and to sign Michael Turner as a free, those kinds of things. And then for it to happen, as we've talked about, we want to try to find somebody with that kind of running style. And for that to happen, and then to sit there and to talk through this trade like we did, and for it to come to be like it did, very happy. Very happy. You hope, but I think it's been fun to watch John through the whole process of how he's had to deal with some of the individuals throughout, whether it's been agents or other teams. He's done a really good job. I think he's well respected because of it. He was before. He probably is. I know he is much more now than he ever has been.
I know you got a lot of phone calls, obviously, when you were at number one, a lot of attention there. Are you now in the reverse position? Are you kicking the tires, making a lot of phone calls in terms of moving back up, or?
Yeah, good question. These last 2 or 3 days, it's kind of been a back and forth. 31 teams are doing it, just kind of taking stock of where you're at. Hey, would you be interested in sliding back? Or hey, would you be interested in coming up? I'd say we've made a few calls and fielded a few calls as well. So that's just kind of the standard draft procedure. It's happened everywhere I've been. Those just exploratory calls. Hey, well, we're on the clock. Would you be interested? So I would say it's been both ways. Back and forth.
How valuable could that pick be at the top of the second round, you think?
Good question.
Yeah.
I hope very. I hope very. Usually those picks at the top of each round, especially when there's turnover, like the way the draft is set up now. So the draft ends Thursday night. It gives teams an entire day the next day to take stock of their draft board, see what players are still there, and try to formulate a plan to get back up there at the top and get a guy. The same thing will happen on Friday night leading into Saturday with those picks at the top of the fourth round. So I would say that there's definitely value in being at the top of each round.
John, several teams still have unsettled quarterback situations. You have 3 guys with some measure of experience. Zach Mettenberger getting any interest from teams talking about trades?
No, I would say, Zach's been here and he's been working. He's buying into what we're doing, and we're excited that he's a part of this football team.
Mike, having coached this team last year and then going through the evaluation of the offseason stuff, how many holes do you feel like you can fill with all the picks you guys have accumulated, and how much better do you think this team can get this weekend?
Well, I don't think it's nice to have all the picks. We think we're going to build depth and hopefully build I have actually a number of starters with the picks that we have right now. Again, I'm talking about if we use them all. This is not a one-year turning around in one off season in 3 months to think that you can change things immediately. We're talking about a lot of young players that we're going to be bringing in here. We think we're on the right track, but I think with the situation we're in with the picks and with what we did with DeMarco and our free agents, that we are going in the right direction. But this is going to be a work in progress, and I think what we've done to this point has been very good for this football team and this franchise.
Coach, who are the leaders of this team right now, as you see it?
I think there's a lot of them in that locker room. Some of them not. I think Delaney is a leader. He's not a real vocal guy, but the way he does his actions speak volumes in that locker room and in this building. You can barely get a peep out of Jarrell Casey, but I'd follow him anywhere. There's a number of guys that I think, and John will attest to this. I told John when he got hired here or when I got hired and we started working together, that this is a very good locker room. I mean, he's walking into a very good situation with the players we have in there. It's very good, very, a lot of the guys we've been talking about, we got a very team-first players, and it's evident even watching them since they've been here for 2 weeks that we have a good locker room and a good group in there.
John, if you were to make a trade to go back up, does that likely say that there's a guy out there that you guys are talking about now that you just covet, that you're going to make a move to go after and try and get him? Or is that maybe a guy that you have a grade on that starts to slip a little bit and you see it as a real value? Or could it be both?
I think it's probably both. I think it's, you look at the player and, can you get that player later, or is there teams behind you that are looking at the same player? You have to gauge not only the teams in front of you, but the teams that are behind you as well. And, they're trying to do what's best for their football team as well. So you just kind of monitor the situation. And again, if you think it's in the best interest of the team to strike and go up for the guy, then you do it. You do it.
Defensive line, you feel like that's one of the deeper spots, and does that make you confident that maybe, a few rounds down the line you can still get a quality player on the defense?
Sure, good, really good position group. I talked about it, I think, back at the Senior Bowl once the underclassmen, whenever that date was, and the full list came out. We started to evaluate those guys. It's a really good position group. There's going to be some guys. Not everybody can go in the first round. There's going to be some guys that slip into that, into Friday night that are still going to be out there. So, for their sake, I'm sure they hope that they all go in the first round. For our sake, I hope they fall.
Like you've seen different GMs operate different ways on draft days. Are you interested to see how he works this draft?
Based on the first 3 months, yes, I am. But I pretty much know this. It's going to be very methodical, well thought out, and in the best interest of our football team when it all comes down to all the decisions we're going to make. John's is all about that.
How will your thinking work when you're there at the top of the second round? You've got 3 of the first 12 picks. Will you have a pool of 12 guys that you'll be culling from to try and make those 3 picks, or you just try to take it one at a time and re-examine the board after every pick?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. You try to get a gauge on the teams around you and their needs, and will that player, you've got to pick him at 33, or what's the likelihood of him slipping to 40, 43, or can we take this guy and still get this guy? So there's a lot of, as Mike alluded to, methodical thinking that you have to rely on the pro staff, that they've got the needs right, for the other teams. You got to monitor the action that's going on once the teams are on the clock. Are teams moving? Should we move? So there's a lot that goes into, the thought process. But in the end, you want to have, like you said, a pool of players there. In reality, if you would consider a guy at 43 or at 45, you would consider him at 43 too. It's 2 spots. So you want to have that pool of players there to pick from for sure.
John, you get a kick out of mock drafts? Do you pay attention to them?
Love them.
What do you think when you see some of them roll across the screen?
No, I mean, they're interesting. And in all seriousness, we monitor those. I mean, a lot of those, the reporters, I mean, they talk across the league and try to get gauges and values on those. So you see, all right, well, we like this player and nobody's got him in their mock draft for the first round, so maybe we'd be able to get him in the second round. You look at those things, but I wouldn't say we've necessarily set our board by the composite mock draft that's been given to me.
The reality is, I guess if you had to do a mock draft yourself, it wouldn't be easy to nail the pick, I guess, at this point.
No, we've done that for fun a couple times. Just had the scouts sit around the room, pick a player. Is there any? Are you right on it? Probably about as right as the mock drafts are.
Yeah. John, if you stay at 15 on Thursday night, how excited are you with the prospects of Friday night, knowing you have 5 picks in so many different directions that you could go?
Really excited. Yeah, really excited. We'll get a chance to add 5 good football players, we think, that are going to come in here and contribute to the effort. So, again, the less currency we have to turn loose in that second and third rounds, the better. So.
Thank you.
When will you make your decision on Chance's option? Will that come after the draft?
Yeah, we still got a couple days there on that. I think the 2nd of May is the deadline on that, so we're still talking through some scenarios on that one.
Good. See everybody.
Thank you.